Hello and welcome to Lead and Succeed. In today's video, we will dive deeper into how you as leader can hold a personal development talk. Personal development talks are an incredible tool for leaders and a great way of engaging with your team members. Let's dive into it. Let's get going. Welcome to Lead and Succeed. And today we're looking into development talk. And I'm sharing literally exactly how I'm doing it. It's really how to drive motivation and in the end business results. But business results is second to this because I truly believe personally that when you motivate, when you work with your employees, your team members in a proper way, then the business results will happen anyhow. A lot of companies only focus on the business results and less on the people. I'm a big fan of focusing on people first, which you will see as well on this slide. So I'm doing the development talk and a performance evaluation talk on two separate occasions. That's not the same day. It's two completely different things. And I'm explaining this always with like pyramids, where I start from the bottom up approach, where I look at the individual and work with the individual. And then we go up towards what are the different development steps for that individual, which we go through today. And only after that, I look into what are the organizational needs, normally from an organizational setup. If you look into performances, you always see that the organization has different needs, different goals, and then you cascade these different goals into the organization. And normally what organizations do, they start with the performance on, these are the goals we need to fulfill as an organization. Please do this. I do this the other way around. I look into where do you want to be as an individual? How do you want to grow? And then we match this to the performance, to the needs of the organization. So that first and foremost is really the focus on the individual. Where do you want to be as an individual? And then we look into how does that match the need of the organization so that if you have a team that you can then match the people in a proper way. So that's high level. So it is really all about the development talk and then going towards finding out what the individual wants. And I'm just starting with the setup. For a lot of people, that might be completely basics, but I have seen it done so many times wrong with me. And I thought I will just mention it as well. So I'm explaining a lot of basics maybe today for some of you, but it's always good to wrap up some basics. So going into a development talk, first and foremost, the person needs to understand that this is a development talk where you want to be more in a cozy setting. I always try to not be in a normal office setting where you sit on a table. It's a little bit more cozy. You can go out for a walk. You can go out into a restaurant and really create an atmosphere which is building trust just with the surroundings where you are in. Sofas and cozy environments are always important. And then depending on how you work, time of the day sometimes is important. The weekday is important. I would not do it on a Friday afternoon when everyone is tired, maybe more towards the beginning of the week. I would also try to do it in a physical space if that's possible. I know we are all working now in a hybrid or digital environment. It's possible digital, specifically if you know each other, but I highly recommend to do it in person because I've seen it working way better when you do it in person. You can literally draw together on a piece of paper in front of you so that the people really engage with you. And of course, you need to be aware of the relationship to the other person. Like you, if you are the manager of that person, you have already a relationship, and I don't know how deep that relationship is. So that's something you need to take into consideration as well. I've had the experience just this year where I did this with a couple of people who didn't know me too much, and they have been a little bit shocked because they have never experienced so deep questions from a manager. So they have been a little bit perplexed, and it took them a little while to get into these topics and then sharing things. What I always recommend is enabling the person that you work with, so your team member, to take notes, but as well yourself. What I often do, like I have here right now, I have a notepad, and then I'm writing while I'm saying something or while they are saying something, but in a way that they can see what I'm writing. I'm a person that's always taking keynotes only, so I just write a word, and then this word will help me to reflect back when you look into active listening. That's working for me super well. And a lot of people appreciate that as well in one-on-one conversations. And they often want to have the notes afterwards. Or when I'm drawing something ugly, they want to have it as well. So first step I always do after like little chit chat is getting them into a future perspective. I always start with the perspective of 5 years from now, which a lot of people struggle with. Who are you going to become is a very difficult question, but I'm keeping it there. I'm just stating that question. So who are you going to become 5 years from today? And then I'm explaining them a little bit around this. Imagine there's a picture on a wall where you see yourself. So you're part of that picture and it's everything. It's not just you in a working environment. It's you as a human being. And then they start talking. And that's something you need to learn to sit through. I'm lucky I've had a coaching education, so I've learned these things a little bit more professional. But you don't need to be a professional coach to be able to do that. It's really just ask this question, give them the perspective. Hey, there's a picture on the wall. Think about who are you going to become? See yourself in that picture. And then they start explaining. And what is quite interesting, everyone starts on the surface. Yeah, I want to be a manager. I want to do this. I want to have a super good career. And you just keep them, okay, tell me more. So you encourage them to talk. And that's really the first phase, is getting them into, okay, 5 years from now, that's very difficult. I have no idea what I'm going to do a year from now. And really helping them to go deeper and just asking them encouraging questions. It's really just getting them going into a future perspective. For example, I've had a person that was saying, I see myself being in a different country, living in a different country. Then I was asking, okay, who is with you in that country? What is the place you're living? How does that feel? How does that look like? So he was describing a place in Northern America where he's living in a wooden house and his family is with him and he can work from home. So it was an environment which if you think a pure business environment, you would never think that someone would come up with these things. But that's exactly what this is about. Giving the other person a perspective of where do you want to be and who you are becoming. So because you are transferring yourself, you're transforming yourself with a development. That's the first step. That might take everything between 5 and 20 minutes, depending on how good your relationship with that other person is. Some people are going directly deep if you have done this a couple of times, and then it's fairly easy. But a lot of people struggle, so don't give up, because we can always cycle back to this. You will see that later. It's a starting point. The next question is then, why do you want to be that person? So they're describing themselves, for example, I want to be a manager. I want to have big responsibility and I want to have at least 5 people. I want to have this amount of money. Some people come up with things really focused on business and they ask them why. In a coaching environment, you should not ask why question because that's a little bit pushing. But in this circumstances, doing a development talk, it's very helpful because it points them down. So why do you want to be a manager? And then they come, yeah, but because I want to earn more money. Yeah, why do you want to earn more money? What is the reason that you want to earn more money? So you help them to go deeper again. And sometimes that changed their picture. So jump between these two pictures because they're reframing their picture differently. If you ask them, yeah, but if you're a manager, what's the reason for that? And they go deeper and deeper and deeper, understanding their personal why in these different topics. So these 2 exercises, just a starting exercise to get them into that perspective and help them to think differently. So it's roughly, let's say, between 20 and 30 minutes where you go with them and explore this. And you are literally, as the manager, you're just the sparring partner. You are the person that's opening up the other person with open-ended questions. That's super important that you're not giving your opinion because it has 0 to do with you and it has 0 to do with the organization. That's very difficult for a lot of people to understand because it's more about where does this person want to be and what is the reason for that. If you have discovered this, then we circle back where we say, okay, now let's go a little bit deeper and help you to understand things more. These are just questions that help you to give them a little bit more meat on the bone. So what is important to you in life? And then they're coming up with a couple of 4 or 5 things that are important to them. Who is important to you? So they come up with a couple of people that are important to you. And then you can always circle back. So you're saying that your mom is super important, but she's not in the picture. How do you relate that to the picture? So you can always build the bridge to the picture so that they're going from their mindset on understanding where they want to be, drawing this picture, why do they want to be there, and then looking into who is with them, what is important to them. So you're fine-tuning the picture. What excites you from an individual perspective? And that can be a business angle or a personal angle. I always try to get both, because often we as managers are just working in a business context and we're not taking care of the life. I don't divide between business and life. For me, it's one thing, because I believe if we are human beings in a work context and we can be ourselves and really truly be ourselves, we will be more successful, and the business with results, like I said in the beginning, will benefit from that. Other questions is, what do you want to learn? What do you want to improve? And as well, what do you want to leave behind? And that can be leaving behind habits, that can be leaving behind bad things, that can be leaving behind people, whatever they come up with. Always give them the possibility to go back to the picture. It's really a painting exercise, literally, where you help them painting their future picture from 5 years from now, and then discovering the why. And this question is just looping them back into that picture. So always have a conversation how that relates to the picture and help them to frame it. Of course, what you need to give them maybe as a prompt in the beginning is as well, this is not an exercise that is done after you're out of that meeting. Let's say if this meeting will be in total maybe 2 hours, it's quite a long meeting. It's not over. It's just a starting point for them to go deeper. And you as the support person, as their manager, helping them to do that. From that, you then go into, so if you have your picture, let's make it measurable. Let's make it specific so that you can really define a specific goal. And obviously you do that in a smart way: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. I'll not go too much into that because that's for me quite logic, and you can watch other YouTube videos around that. But it's really the most important thing for me is having something that they understand 5 years from now. That's the time limit. What is as well possible in 5 years, and then being a little bit more specific so that you can measure it. And then comes an interesting step where you say, okay, where are you? If you say 1, you're completely far away from it, and number 10, you're already close to it. Where are you? So they need to rate themselves. So if you want to be in this picture, like I said, the person that wants to be a wealthy manager, having a lot of people, having a lot of responsibility, maybe being married, maybe having kids, to maybe living in a different country or traveling around the world as part of the business, how far are you from this? So you give them a little bit perspective how close they are to this. That also then requires how much they need to do to get there. And then the next one is really helping them, what gets them towards this. So if you have a goal, if you have a picture for yourself in 5 years, what are the things that help you to get there? What are the habits? What are the different activities that gets you upstairs? And then you can help them to build a bullet list. It's not formulating everything out. It's just, okay, what are the different things you believe will help you to get there? And then if we just take the manager as an example, they want to be a manager. They want to have responsibility. They want to have people reporting to them. So how do you get that? One thing is, maybe they say, I need to work harder and I need to be more visible. Okay, then you reframe this with them together. So what are the different steps you could be doing? Okay, I need to communicate better with my managers and the people around us, maybe with different departments in the organization, so that I'm seeing better. So that they're a little bit more specific on this. And then you just literally build a bullet point list that gets them closer to that goal. And then the next question is, what gets you further away from it? And that's a positive formulation of what they should stop doing. And obviously, then you build a list as well. It's fairly simple because often it's parallels to what they should be doing that they should not be doing. If they say they need to build in bridges between different departments, then they should stop doing like bashing other departments and not really communicating. So it's always connected to each other. But as well, if you look wider than business, it's always connected to their personal life, connected to where they are as individuals. So what's behind that? Can you explain this better? Can you help me understand this, so that they restart iterating their perspectives and their bullet points to you? And while they do that, they think about it and then they iterate on it. And when you have done that, then it's really getting into building a plan. I always zoom then in from a 5-year perspective to a 1-year perspective, because I believe you should do this kind of talk at least once a year, if not more often, but at least once a year. And then you go really, so what are you going to do? When are you going to do it? What do you need to make happen? Who do I need to ask for help? How I'm going to measure my success? Really going specific. So if you have communication as one of the topics, then you help them, okay, what are the different things you want to do? What are the important steps you want to do over the next 6 months? And then I help you to build this plan out and go more into details. And that's maybe another meeting afterwards where they prepare, and then they come back to you and you sit down together where you go deeper into, let's plan it, let's look into it, let's have an understanding. I'm more the coach when it comes to these things, because it needs to be theirs. They need to own it. If you are going into mentoring, which means you give your direction and your input too much, then you own it or you co-own it. I try always to step back and let them fully own it, because if they own it, it's their baby and they want to dream to become true. And if you help them to do that, then they are doing as well what is in the plan. And then you can, of course, keep them accountable during the year. That's literally it from a step-by-step approach. I have an ugly template, which I always use. It is really personal perspective. Who am I going to be? Why do I want to be that person? And then the other things, all the questions we have gone through as well. And then the goal, I call this the gold staircase from a Canvas perspective, where you go upstairs or slide down, and where you have as well the rating. I often give that to them afterwards so that they can do it for themselves. Or depending if we have done it already a couple of times, I'm printing it out and give it to them. And then this is as well just a very easy, almost Excel table that helps people to understand what I mean. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to join one of the future live sessions, find the link for future events below in the comments. And as well, if you want to join our community, which the Innovative Leaders community, you will find as well a link further down. That's it. Looking forward to see you in the next video.